Go.
Okay, well, my name is Dmitry. We're going to start out by just talking a little bit about Clark County Fire and Rescue, the department as a whole, and we're going to focus on Station 24 out of Richfield, Washington. All right, Clark County Fire and Rescue is a combination department. We have career firefighters as well as volunteers and interns to kind of supplement staffing. We are located in mostly northern Washington, or Clark County in Washington, with stations in Battleground, the Center, Woodland, and Richfield. Okay. So Station 24 is staffed with 2 career firefighters at all times. They operate on a modified Detroit schedule, meaning they work 24 hours and have 48 hours off. And like I said, they were supplemented with volunteers in addition to the 2 career. They cover an area of 7 square miles of the Richfield city limits, as well as the area surrounding the city of Richfield itself. This map kind of demonstrates where Station 24 is located. It's right here. It's actually downtown Richfield, and the response area is from this north of Vancouver here, all the way up to near Woodland, and to where you have the Lewis River, eastern fork of Lewis River converge, as well as the Columbia River here on the western boundary, and Lake River there, where we have our boathouse with the rescue boats available to us. Richfield is primarily a suburban area. We have a lot of just residential neighborhoods. Most of the houses are relatively new, most of them fairly good repair, so we don't have a high fire problem. But the water does create a bit of a unique scenario with a relatively high volume of water calls. When community assets that we identified for the city of Richfield and just our jurisdiction is the rivers. We have 43 miles of river in our jurisdiction. This includes the Columbia River over to our west, Lake River, and the north and east forks of the Lewis River up north, where they actually converge. Very popular recreational area. These assets are widely used by the residents of Richfield itself, and a lot of people come to Richfield to use these recreational resources. Another avenue for recreational use or entertainment is the Richfield Wildland or Wildlife Refuge. It's a large area, about 5,300 acres. Got lakes, river. It has a couple rivers on each side of it. It's got marshes, grasslands, woodlands. Yeah. Next slide, you could see it's this whole green area in between Lake River and the Columbia River. It's very popular with kayakers, and a lot of families come out there just to hike, picnic, and it's because it is a wildlife refuge and it's very well kind of pristine wilderness looking area. You have a lot of odors and kayakers who will come up from the Columbia River into Lake River and just kind of explore this area. So this get a lot of recreational use, a lot of traffic, especially in the summer months when it's just warm. It just has a high conflagration of people. So when identifying the risks that we have in our community, in our jurisdiction at Station 24, the 2 ones that really stood out for us was water, because the amount of rivers and lakes that we have in our jurisdiction, water safety obviously has to be a concern. And the other issue is the railroad tracks that we have running through our jurisdiction and the amount of railroad traffic that comes through the city of Richfield. With the water, we don't necessarily have a high call volume with water incidents, but for example, in the summer months, we had about 16 calls for water-related incidents, which is fairly high for the Station 24, which doesn't normally have a very high call volume overall. The train incidents, there have not actually been any incidents this year to speak of, but it's just a constant hazard, constant risk that we have to assess and be ready for if ever were to happen. The amount of hazmat stuff that comes through. Okay, when assessing the risks, the first thing we had to kind of look at was the demographics. Most of the residents of Richfield are middle-aged people, between ages 5 and 64 on this chart here. And basically, it's a lot of families. We got a lot of people with children. Most people actually in Richfield actually do have children based on the census. Most of the income levels in Richfield are, somebody down that's higher than the average for the state of Washington. So they're upper middle class people. a lot of them are boat owners and do spend a lot of time, doing recreational things underwater, whether it be boating or kayaking, things like that. So that's something we had to kind of look at when determining which risks we needed to focus on. When reviewing our call volume so far this year, you'll notice that kind of our rescue and EMS incidents are slightly unproportionate to the rest of it, majority of our calls, but that's pretty standard for most stations and most departments. The thing that kind of stands out is you'll notice we have 16 water-related calls so far this year, and that's not actually very accurate as far as being representative of the call volume or the amount of calls that we got, because most of those calls came in between March and September, and that represents the entire year, where January, February, March, you got fairly low water usage, or as far as recreational usage goes. And those 3 summer months, we had 16 incidents. And of those 16 incidents, we had 6 fatalities in Clark County. So it's an extremely high percentage of those kind of incidents resulting in fatality. It's something that really grabbed our attention, and we decided that's something we need to do something about, make some changes to reduce those numbers, because we don't want another year like this year, water tragedy.